It is my honor to welcome you all today in this webinar. Honorable Principal Sir, all our teaching staff, our esteemed guests, and all the students and my colleagues. High-Tech Institute of Technology is considered one of the best institutions in the city, not only for its results and placements, but for its cultural activities too. And I feel very proud to be a part of such an amazing institution. Without taking too much of time, I will quickly introduce you all to our today's guest, alumni of our college 2009 batch, Mr. Vikram Sherigar, working as a technical lead in Coditas Technologies in Pune, Maharashtra, India. He has completed his diploma in computer technology from MIT Aurangabad in the year 2006. Mr. Vikram has a bachelor's degree in computer science from Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar, Marathwada University, Aurangabad, Maharashtra. Starting his career as a software engineer in Robosoft Technologies in the year 2010, he has risen the position as a technical lead today at Coditas Technologies. In this journey, he has held many responsible positions as a software engineer in Robosoft Technologies, then as a software engineer in HSBC, then as a Java developer in Persistent Systems, and then as a technical lead in PTC for 3 years. Sir, your presence through this webinar will make a lot of difference to the young minds listening here. So, my young colleagues, I am sure you can see and learn and take a leaf out of his brilliant career. Sir, I hand over the control to you. Vikram, sir.
Thank you very much, Priyanka. Thanks for the very wonderful introduction. Respected HOD ma'am, respected staff members, whoever is currently connected to the call, and you all, my dear friends. It's a great pleasure interacting with you guys. And believe me, I'm really very happy to get an opportunity to interact with you guys, right? I mean, I'm not saying it just for the sake of formality or so. I mean, I really mean it, right? So I really hope that I'm able to give you certain insights about the software industry, and will be able to help you with any of your queries you might have in your mind, any of your fears maybe. So I remember when I was in your place, right? I had a lot of questions, but no one to ask, right? LinkedIn was not it was not there in that period of time. So there were the limit. I know the resources were quite limited, so there was no way that we could figure out certain things, right? So I would like to clear any such doubts you might have today, right? So to begin with, let me start sharing my screen. Can someone please confirm whether my screen is visible?
Yes, sir, it is visible.
Okay, perfect.
Yes,
Thank
sir.
you very much. Getting started in the IT industry. So getting started from your perspective, where you are today, how do you get started from that point in time, right? How do you begin today to make a good career in IT industry? So that's the overall theme of today's session, right? Okay, so the agenda points for today: current scenario in the IT industry, how what's happening in the IT industry as of now, as of today's date, right? We all know the situation, the sort of situation we are in. There's hardly anyone visiting their offices. Everyone's working from home. They're connecting from their home, right? And You might also have come across many newspaper articles, many web articles, any online articles that such and such company has laid so many thousands of employees. Such and such people are, such and such professions are gone, such and such software organizations are, putting locks on. No, there are many number of things that, is enough to make you guys insecure. So let me give you a clear understanding of the current situation, to begin with. There are a lot of mythbusters. So as students, we have a lot of myths. We get to hear certain things from certain people. Some are genuine and some are just, uh, not genuine or just rumors, right? So some people just, say a certain thing and we are very fearful about it. So don't worry, we'll take all those points today, right? Typical roles in an IT project. Okay, so when you say, when we have IT projects being executed in an IT company, right? So what sort of people, what sort of different roles are involved for the success of a project, an IT project, right? The different responsibilities the people handle, right? So we'll talk about that as well. What does industry expect from freshers? Right, a very big question. Um, Whether it's your academics, whether it is your marks, whether it is your practical knowledge, whether it is your communication. Uh, so yes, we'll talk about that as well. Preparations for job. What do you do to prepare yourself to get a job once you pass out of your good institution, right? Interview checklist, certain things to take care of before you go for an interview, right? These are a couple of bonus points. If time permits, we'll look into it, uh, right? So, Smita ma'am, one question please before I begin. Smita ma'am,
Hi, yes, sir.
so could you please let me know the time duration that we have?
You can take your time.
Okay,
Choose.
okay, fine. Yeah, thank you very much. Okay, so friends, let's get started with the first point, the COVID-19 impact, right? I am pretty sure that everyone is thinking about this right now, and everyone is has this fear in their mind that what will happen. We all know that we are in a very bad situation right now. There's a lot of recession and many other things you get to hear on a day-to-day basis. If there is recession, will companies hire? And if they hire, will they hire freshers? Yes. So valid point to think about. But yeah, let's address this. Let's face this fear, right? Okay. Economy hit, businesses shutting down, layoffs, job market closed, etc., etc. We all hear this on a day-to-day basis. Correct? I believe so. But what does that really mean? Does that mean that there are no jobs for freshers? Does that mean that hiring has stopped across all the IT organizations? Does that mean all the IT companies are shutting down? Yeah. So does that mean that you won't be getting a job until the recession is over? You all might be having this thing in your running in your mind, right? The answer is no. I have purposefully made this no this big to create that sort of impact, because the no is that impactful that it doesn't really matter. Okay. So you guys are really safe. Believe me, you guys are really safe. So why do industries hire freshers? Let's begin from here. Okay. So I'm sure you might have known certain points among this, but let's try to figure out. Let's begin from here, right from here, to get a perfect insight of what lays ahead of us, right? Okay. So freshers are economical, right? I mean, it's quite logical to think about it. Uh, the salary package that a fresher gets, okay, the salary package that two freshers get is equivalent to salary package of one person with around 3 to 4 years of experience. I mean, roughly, hypothetically speaking, That is the sort of scenario, right? Freshers are that way very economical, and freshers do the real work at the grassroots level. You guys, when you join the organization, right, the grassroots level work that is being done is mostly done by you guys. um, so there's a pyramid structure, right? So we have the juniors in the bottom layer, and then we have their senior software engineers who sort of do their they do code and then do mentor you as well. Then there are leads who take the responsibility of the overall team, right? And then there are managers, project managers who handle these resources, right? Resources, I mean human resources. And then there is a pretty big pyramid structure, but the bottommost layer is who does the real work, who is involved in meeting the deadlines, making the real code implementations or making the real configurations is you guys. Okay. Enthusiasm, yes. So as freshers, we are start at the beginning of our career, and we are very pretty excited to be in the industry. As a result, we show up a lot of enthusiasm. We very hardly say no when we are freshers. Okay, so I'm saying this from my experience, from my observation on my colleagues who were with me. So how we behaved, how we have spent that phase of being a fresher in an IT organization, right? So yeah, we work with a lot of enthusiasm. So uh, it would be wrong to make a generic statement, but then it's a general observation that when people tend to get a bit more of experiences, right? So their enthusiasm level decreases a bit. Not everyone, but yeah, that does happen. People tend to meet a saturation level. There are various reasons to it, but then that's an off topic for us in today's discussion, so let's not get into it. Sincerity, yeah, freshers are very sincere and flexible too, right? So there's a project deadline, and your team lead wants to finish it up at the earliest. So if you ask a fresher, say that, hey, we have to finish it. Could you please do your best? Could you please give your best? And we are like, yes, definitely. Even we sincerely want to finish that piece of work that we are allotted, that we are assigned, and until we finish it, uh, we don't take rest. I mean, we don't feel that accomplishment that this is completed, right? Uh, yeah. So this all leads to you know. So this particular slide that I'm showing is not my personal perspective. Rather, it is what industry thinks, what the people in industry think, that why do we want freshers, because of these points. This is not exhaustive, there are many other points, but I think these are the main points why industry would like to have freshers. I'm sure there is a myth that industry needs only experienced people. Freshers have no freshers are not in demand, right? So that is a myth. We'll come to that in a future slide, right? Then why do most of the freshers not get placed? A big question, right? I'm pretty sure you all are thinking about this. If I'm saying that industry wants freshers, at the same time there are a lot of freshers in the market, they're not getting placed. Why? Can okay, let's start a brief interaction. Can anyone in the crowd tell me their own personal opinion? Why do you think freshers not getting placed? Anyone is welcome, please.
Because they don't have any experience.
True. Yes, experience does matter. True. Anything else?
Uh, Hello, sir.
Yes. Hello.
Sir, the question you asked, the answer about it is as the freshers are required in IT industry or any type of industry because they can work and they can learn more things, according to me.
True. True. But the question here is, why are freshers not getting placed? Why are freshers facing difficulty in getting placed?
Sir, one reason maybe they are lacking in what current scenario, current technology or the knowledge, lacking in the knowledge?
Perfect. Perfect. Very good answer. Okay. So let me take this ahead now. Thanks for your answers. Let's keep interacting in this way so the interest levels are maintained, right? Okay. So what is the most important factor? Gap. So there is a big gap. Okay. Gap in what? Technical skills, as someone rightly pointed out, technical skills. Industry wants people with certain skills, right? But we don't have those skills due to some XYZ reasons, but we don't possess those skills, right? Soft skills, communication. How well are you able to communicate your ideas, communicate your knowledge, communicate what you know, right? This matters a lot. Awareness among you students about what industry wants from you. How do you get prepared? How do you bring yourself to that level, to the industry's expectations, right? That awareness is missing somewhere. The recruitment process. Different organizations have different recruitment processes, right? So if you think in terms of your degree, right? Um, there is an exam pattern followed by Bamu University. There is an exam pattern followed by Pune University, Mumbai University, so on and so forth. But overall patterns remains the same. We have 5 to 6 theoretical subjects, 5 to 6 practicals, 100 marks theory papers, 50 marks practicals, then internals, etc., etc. So there is some standard format to it at least, right? But when it comes to the recruitment process, there is no industry-wide standards. People go by what they think is right. If an organization thinks that I need to assess a candidate based on his technical skills, okay, so there are technical answers, technical questions being asked. But there are people who may not be very good with technical at this point in time, but they have it in them. Their logical thinking capability is pretty good. It's just that they might not have learned some computer languages, maybe programming languages, maybe. For example, we see this most often in people from electronic stream, right? Mostly they know a little bit about the C language, and that's about it. But there are candidates whose logical capabilities is pretty good, right? So even industry doesn't want to miss on those. So what do? They come up with aptitude test, logical reasoning test. Take questions from R.S. Agrawal, right? As a student, I always wondered why are industry people so keen on assessing people on this R.S. Agrawal contents. So this is the reason that they want to consider everyone, not just the people who know a particular language, but whose logical thinking capability is also pretty good, right? Uh, I know there are certain questions that how do we prepare then? What all do we need to prepare? We'll come to that. Please bear with me. Mythbusters. Okay. Get ready to demystify certain concepts, certain statements that you guys might have come across. Industry doesn't need freshers. We talked about it, right? We need only experienced people. Due to these reasons, industry needs freshers. So this is a myth. Okay, so don't think that experienced people have, oh no, only experienced people are needed, freshers are not needed. No, definitely no. In the current COVID scenario, right? I mean, let me talk about a very crucial point here, right? You guys might have heard of layoffs across the industries, right? Like thousands of people from Cognizant, from TCS are being laid off. They're losing jobs. Why? Right? Because of n number of reasons. Let's not get into it. But what you need to understand is those are mostly experienced people, not freshers. No one will remove freshers because to cut cost. Okay, freshers won't be laid off to cut cost. Fresher, a fresher candidate might be laid off because his or her performance concerns or behavioral concerns or some XYZ reasons of that sort. That's specific to that particular person. But there is no generic reason why an IT organization will think of laying off hundreds or thousands of fresher candidates. No, no one will do that. Okay. Cost cutting, yes. So when IT industry currently is affected by the COVID situation, as you all know, right? So one cost cutting strategy is uh, to reduce the strength in the mid level. Okay, so as I said, freshers are the base, then there's the mid level, and then the upper management. So above the base level, right? So to reduce the strength from here, right, and then increase the base, right? Because freshers and the people, especially when I say freshers, it's not just the freshers, it's people with around 3 years experience, 0 to 3 years of experience. Consider all those people at the base level. Okay, so they will increase the base level and they will have lesser people managing them. Of course, that would be a burden on the second level and the upper level guys, of course. But then we have to come out of the situation somehow, right? So increasing the base level is one strategy that most of the IT companies are following. Okay, I hope my point is clear. Any doubts in what I just explained? Anyone? Okay, I'll take that as a no. Okay, going forward, our next myth: hiring has stopped due to the COVID-19 situation. Yeah, we just talked about it, right? We just talked about it. No campus placement means no career. Now, this is not relevant to today's situation. It's in general. Like people think that okay, there is no on campus now. पता नहीं भगवान भला करे मेरा पता नहीं मेरा क्या होगा मुझे जॉब मिलेगा या नहीं right so we have that sort of fear in mind right so we think that oh, no off campus are very difficult it's not going to work out we think that way but that's not the case. So off-campus recruitments do happen. There are a lot of off-campus recruitments that do happen. But now just take it, now consider this from the industry's perspective, right? Uh, we have, my organization, for example, right? We want to hire around 50 candidates, for example, and we advertise it, okay? We advertise it somewhere that, okay, we need these 50 candidates. What happens on the day of the interview? What happens is there are around 500 candidates at my gate with their resumes all prepared to give interviews. Now, what do I do? Right? What do I do? I cannot interview all the 500 candidates. I mean, that's next to impossible, right? So, shortlisting. Shortlisting is something that has to happen. Many of the organizations shortlist based on your marks because there's no other thing, there's no other basis on which they can shortlist you. So what happens is they see a crowd of 500 members and they say, okay, people with the throughout first class, okay, throughout first class and above, only they stay and just can leave. Okay, rest of the people leave and then we are left with say 200 250 members out of 500, right? And they say okay, only distinction members stay back, right? This happens, sadly this happens. This is where your academics come into play. As an experienced person from the IT industry, I would definitely say that this is not a right way. Okay, this is not the right way. And again, my point is not to make you guys more fearful that okay, if I don't have good marks, then maybe I'll be filtered out in this, I'll never get an opportunity. No, not really. It does not happen always, but then this is something that does happen. Sadly, this happens, but we have to face the reality, right? Uh, okay, so okay, we'll come to resumes later. Fine. Upscaling from genuine training centers. Okay, there are genuine organizations from here where you can get trained, from where you can upskill. I prefer Udemy, Coursera, the online platforms. even today with like over 10 years of experience, I still have to take certain courses on Udemy and Coursera. Okay. I mean, that's the truth of IT industry. You have to keep upskilling yourself. There are, you know, IT industries, the IT scenario, this technical stack, it keeps changing. When I started my career way back in 2010, right? We didn't have the JavaScript frameworks, this Angular, Node, React, Vue. These things did not exist. And I used to work as a full stack developer. Full stack developer is someone, for information, who designs the UI part, designs the business logic, makes the entire connection, the end-to-end flow, right? It's starting from the UI all the way to the database, saving it in the database, right? This entire flow who works on is a full stack developer. But today this definition has changed because the front end technology has changed. Today in front end we have mostly the JavaScript frameworks, okay, and then Android was not in picture those days. Today we have those things, right? So just to give you a glimpse of this was just to give a glimpse of how rapidly the IT industry changes, that expectations, the technical stack changes. We have to keep up with this. We have to keep learning, and trust me, guys, it's not that difficult. Believe me, once you get a hold of it, once you understand what's important and what's not important for you to carry on your day-to-day activities, this is not at all a difficult task. Okay, you have to dedicate some time, and many of the organizations, right, they give you dedicated time for learning. And there are organizations like Persistent. I had been in Persistent as a module lead. They have their own training department. Same as the case in HSBC, they have their own training departments. They publish a calendar that they have hired trainers, professional trainers who will train you on certain technologies, right? So just to give you certain insights on this part. So yeah, upskilling. So at your level, upskilling is something that is very important. So if there are some very good words on your resume, right? For example, if you say that I have learned XYZ framework, I have successfully completed a project on enterprise application which has, say, J2E technologies, Hibernate, and things like that, right? Maybe you have developed a mobile app which is very useful, right? So you can, if such things are visible on your resume, okay, your academics takes a backseat because that technical part is that what really matters, okay? Because there could be a person, there could be a candidate who has scored a distinction marks throughout his academic part, right? But then if the person hasn't learned any of the programming languages, if attempts from the technical aspects are lacking, right? What will happen? Industry doesn't want someone with some industry doesn't want someone with a very good academics. I mean, that doesn't really matter if you are scored distinction throughout or if you were an average student. What matters is the technical skills, right? So if those things are clearly visible in your resume, then yes, you could get shortlisted, right? Building professional connections, right? We have LinkedIn, pretty good platform, right? So you can connect with industry people, you can connect with HRs. There are a lot of people around there. You just have to create your good profile and go over there, right? Certifications. Yes, we have certifications in every stream, each and every stream. We have certification for coders, for quality analysts, for maybe the cloud technologies. There are a lot of certifications out there, so you can consider taking those. If not, at least take that as a reference point for your learning. For example, if you read a book on Java certification, right? So when you take that from beginning to the end, lot of concepts get cleared, right? And again, just reading won't help. You have to sort of implement it somewhere in maybe your hobby project or in any of your projects, right? So that's how things work. In software organizations, people work 24 by 7. Right? Many of my relatives ask me that I heard that in software organization, people work like for well, very long hours, 10 hours, 12 hours. You also have to work on weekends. Many of my relatives ask me this question even now, right? So answer to this question is no, it's not the case. There are certain situations where people have to stretch out, okay, because there are client commitments. Things go wrong. uh, what happens is when we have a set of requirements, right? We estimate it. We, in the sense, the senior guys, right? The project managers, that leads, they sit together. They estimate how many days would it take, right? Is client okay to wait for that amount of time? If no, can we put an additional number of people working on this, right? So n number of points are there in it. Okay, so what happens is estimations are in place, we have the client approval, we start with our work, and somewhere in the middle something goes wrong and the estimations, you know they go for a toss. We were expected to finish it up in say 15 days time, but now what we realize is that certain things were missed out in the estimation, and now we may have to work for almost a month to complete this task. Such things do happen in real life, right? In such cases, although not very often, okay? I mean, just to clarify, it does not happen every time, but certain times, you're faced with certain situations. Again, clients may come up and say that this is very crucial for my business. I have, you know, my competitors may take advantage of this delay that is happening. So you have to deliver me at the earliest. You know, those are some typical situations where people have to stretch for longer hours at work. Okay, so it mostly depends on company culture. Okay, project requirements, client urgency, delivery deadlines, when estimations go wrong, right? And then there are political reasons. Political reasons, I can give you a very good example of what happened when I was in Persistent. So there was this project for a US based telecom client. What happened is there was a takeover. Okay, a part of that our client organization was being taken over by another organization, right? And then the client organization was split, and then there was a lot of blame game happening between them. Both of them were trying to prove that either of them are good. Okay, and these people were in heavy pressure, and that's when the entire team had to work for something like 10 to 12 hours a day, and even one of the days in the weekend we had to work. But at the end of it, it gave a real sense of accomplishment. It boosted our confidence like anything. We were really proud that okay, it was an impossible task that we accomplished. Pat on our backs. We got team awards, we got some goodies, we got some gift vouchers, and we had a party. It was really amazing actually. So I'm just giving you the different side of the story. Okay. Another myth: if I'm not good at coding, I have no place in the software industry. Many people have this fear. Oh, I don't know coding. I'm not good at technicalities. So, is it that I won't get a job, or should I just think something outside the software industry right now? Right? We think that, right? So there are roles beyond coders. So coders are not everyone. So I have in one of my next slides, uh, I have listed out. I've tried to list out the sort of different roles that we have in a typical IT project. Right? We'll get to that. Then there is, you should sort of analyze your mindset. Okay, I'll talk about that in a while. Okay, so this is a very ridiculous myth. Why I've added it here is I know a couple of people who told me this, and then something really bad happened with their career, unfortunately. Right? If you guys think that this is a myth, I'm more than happy. If you guys are pretty much aware that this is funny, then I'm more than happy. This is definitely not the case. Okay. So there are domain specific roles. for which MBA graduates are considered. So they don't take you as a manager right away. Okay, you have to follow that. You have to start from the beginning. To become a manager, you need some level of experience. In MBA, there's no magic wand, and they will just put that magic pen and say, hey, now you are equivalent to 5 or 6 years of experience. No, then that does not happen, right? So the sort of roles MBA graduates get in an IT industry is something different. Of course, you have opportunities beyond IT industries after you complete MBA. It has its own perks, but don't go for MBA with this mindset. That's the crux of this slide. One more myth: only large organizations pay well, and startups don't join startups. So these are some very well-known names. I believe you might all have come across all these organizations, right? There are many more, many more. Uh, how many of you think that this is true? Yes, can you please unmute and tell me? Anyone?
No, sir, it's not true according to my opinion.
Great. Why?
Because I have seen many of the companies
Mhm.
which are recruiting in right now position in COVID situation. They are also
Correct.
hiring. They are also hiring the packages of near about 3 to 4 lakhs.
Correct.
So it's not more according to startups. I think so
Perfect. Perfect.
because the startup also able to pay like this.
Yes, they do. You're absolutely right. So there's this myth: large organizations pay more package. On the contrary, let me tell you, going by the industry standards, most of the organizations whose name you're seeing here, right? Most of, again, it would be wrong to point out a particular organization, so I won't do that. But majority of these organizations, their pay scale on an average is lesser than other mid-sized organizations. And as a friend of mine just suggested a minute ago, that startups do pay good. Yes, startups do pay good, right? And you know, barring these larger organizations, again, it depends on the project that you're working on. But smaller the organization, more the exposure you're going to get, right? For example, if you're working for Infosys, just giving you an example. Okay, I'll give you a practical example. I was in HSBC, right? A very large organization. You might be knowing it, but there's lot of division of work over there. For example, I completed my coding. I want to have this code deployed on a web server. Okay, I can't do it myself because I don't have access to that server. I will never get access to that server. So there is a dedicated team of system administrators sitting there. Now again, system administrator is not meant for deploying application, but for some reason they have them there. Okay, they have a team over there. I have to request these guys, hey, do this deployment for me. Okay, so my experience of deploying an application is gone. There are certain things that might go wrong when you deploy an application, right? Do you get an exposure to it? No. And what happens in a startup organization? You do things end to end. There's no one to say that, hey, I'm stuck here. No, no, no. There's no one to hear when you say that. You have to solve everything by yourself. When you do that, it feels sort of hectic that, oh no, I have to learn so many things. But believe me, the sort of exposure that you get, the sort of knowledge that you get in a relatively shorter period of time is significant. Okay, really significant. On-site opportunities. Think that, okay, now I'll be joining, say, Oracle, and I might get on-site opportunity in the next couple of years. Okay, oh, you joined this organization. Oh, that's a small organization, right? Do they have on-site opportunities? Okay, so it doesn't work that way. It On-site opportunities purely depend on the project requirements, the client's expectations, how the client wants to take the project ahead. Okay, there are a number of situations. Okay, so it's not got to do with a larger or smaller organization. Okay, even smaller organizations send their people to on-site. Okay, Typical roles in an IT project. Okay, before we proceed further, I would like to, you know, hand it over to you guys. Is there any myth that you guys have come across, and or any particular statement you'd like to bring here for discussion? Anyone, please feel to unmute and come up with your point. Yes, no one. Any point that needs to be clarified? Maybe.
So I have one question to you.
Yes, please.
You have just suggested and just explain about the projects, whatever we are doing and performing in IT industries.
Mm-hmm.
So, for example, if a client is there
Mm-hmm.
and they want some project done by us, means the IT professionals, the worker, the engineers which are working in ITs. So,
Mm-hmm.
how do actually we work there, and what are the procedures we are going to follow?
Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay. So yeah, as I mentioned, we have this pyramid structure, right? So it's the junior guys first, then the seniors, and then the leads, the project managers. No. So I think that will get clarified in this section. I think I can explain this section, and I think you'll get a good clarity once we go through this part of the our presentation. Typical roles in an IT project. So I've listed out all the people involved, how the project execution happens, right? Does that help?
Sure, sir.
So even if you have some questions at the end of this section, please feel free to interrupt me and ask your question, right? Does that help?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Any questions or any doubts on whatever we have covered by far? Okay, let's proceed. Roles, typical roles that we have. We have developers. Again, in developer, there are different types of developers. Okay, and why do we have this categorization? Because these categories have different considerations. When we are dealing with an enterprise application, we are focused on a huge set of business requirements. The business requirements are quite large. Lot many things have to be taken care of, and most likely these applications are pretty large, where multiple people collaborate, and they develop, right? Then there is mobile app development. Usually for any given app, right? One or two guys, typically, not always, but typically, it's just one or two persons working on it. And then the considerations are different. When you talk about mobile application, um, you're talking about the hardware that the mobile device is providing you. You have to be very mindful about the hardware. Then the application shouldn't freeze or shouldn't have any lag when you're using it, when the user uses it, right? In enterprise application, yes, you hit the login button and then there's a waiting symbol that goes round and round, and then you get the main dashboard or the main page. A couple of seconds there, it is acceptable. But in mobile application, no, you swipe it and you want the thing rendered right over there, right? Then we have embedded developers, people who are mostly working on C, C++. There are some other languages as well, apart from C, C++. Uh, this is a little bit more challenging because there's no uniformity. Uniformity is sort of lacking over there. When you talk about one device, it could be the scenario could be different in case of a different device. The consideration may be different. The SDK, the software development kit on which you have to start working, that may be different, right? So challenges, different set of challenges in different roles, right? Data scientists, you guys might have heard about it, who work on huge data sets, like terabytes of data sets. to figure out information that makes some business sense. For example, Zomato guys have data. You might be knowing Zomato, right? The food delivery app. They could be data scientists working in Zomato, for example, who will give you a region-wise analysis on for one particular reason. For example, MIDC, Bajaj Nagar area, people prefer to people prefer to have Maharashtrian thali, for example. People in say N1, N2 Sidco area, they prefer Chinese dishes, for example. So getting meaningful data out of the huge set of data is what data scientists do. In a nutshell, this is what they do, right? Then there are testers. So they are quality assurance guys, QA guys, who are responsible of making sure that whatever has been developed is bug free. Okay, so the mindsets, right, in these two has to be complementary. In an ideal situation, it has to be complementary. Developer thinks about how best do I code, how efficient can I code, how performant code I can write to meet this particular business requirement. So entire focus is on creation, right? Of coming up with a very efficient and performant solution, right? But QA on the other hand has an opposite mindset. The QA has to know, how can I break this application? Developer has created fine, but now I would like to break this application. What do I do to break it? Start thinking from that perspective, and you'll become a very good QA, right? And again, it's not that guys, pay attention. It's not that QA doesn't code. Okay, many of people think that testers don't code. The scenario in the last 5 to 6 years, I would say, has changed a lot. Now, people, most of the IT organizations, they don't hire manual testers. So there's something called manual testers and automation testers. Automation testers, they write code to automate their testing, right? For example, we have an application being developed over a period of say 5 months, and every month, each month, we are having a particular release, right? And then uh, after every month, the QA has to test the same existing functionalities, right? Regression testing, they call it, right? But what if in the first month itself, the quality assurance team writes an automation script to test this functionality, right? Incrementally, the developers are building, more and more modules, more and more code base, adding up to the features, and QA is adding automation scripts to test it out. Okay, this is how things typically work. So QA guys have to code. Okay, and that code is pretty simplified. So there are frameworks like Cucumber. You can just Google it and see how things happen. It's very interesting. Okay, Cucumber, Cucumber. Okay, DevOps. Can someone help me with the definition of DevOps, or whatever you feel, whatever you understand by this term DevOps? I'd be really happy if someone can tell me, someone knows about what DevOps is. It's okay if you're wrong. I mean, that's fine.
So, as I know, DevOps is all about the set of the practices
Set of practices. Okay.
that which combines to develop the software.
Uh-huh. Mm-hmm.
So I
Partially
know
right.
this.
Yeah, partially right. Partially right. Not completely wrong, but there's more to it. Right. Okay. Uh, so DevOps are the guys who facilitate this entire flow. Okay. So there's something called a delivery pipeline. Theoretically speaking, there's something called a delivery pipeline. So developer has developed a piece of code. Now project execution is in progress. It started a year ago or so, and development team is working on a new feature set. right? And developers are adding these features. Now we need to make sure that this set of features is not breaking the existing part, right? So what do we do? We'll run the regression test, the automated test that QA has developed, right? But do you expect that, typically developers, they make 2 to 3, code commits on a daily basis. They create a piece of code, they test it, unit test it, and then you can commit that code, right? Uh, Regression on each commit, there could be 6 to 8 developers. Just imagine the sort of work that, even if running the script is a task, okay, just think about it that the QA people have to manually run those scripts, automation, they have to run that command and then report back their findings to the developers. It becomes really very tedious. Okay, that's one thing. Second thing, regression tests are executed. It's fine. The code can be merged with the actual code base, with the code base that we have, project code base. Then there could be certain cloud servers or any servers for that sake. The code has to be built, it has to be compiled, it has to be built, it has to be deployed. Okay, it has to be deployed somewhere, and once it is deployed, there has to be a check which ensures that the application is overall up and running. There could be certain other applications that is interacting with this application. Okay, so just in a nutshell, I'm trying to explain you how things happen, right? So to solve this entire problem, there's something called a pipeline. Okay, so who creates this pipeline? It's the DevOps guys, right? So they use certain technologies, for example Jenkins, and there's Ansible, a lot of technologies in fact. Okay, so they automate this entire flow. Now developer has committed his code. Okay, unit test, execute unit test. If there is an issue, report back. A mail is that commit is rejected. There is a mail going to the developer that hey, this tests are breaking, fix it. It will go ahead, regression. It's failing in the regression. Yes, no. Up to the deployment. Deployment is done. Health check, right? I hope I have been able to give you some understanding. It's okay if you guys are not able to understand. That's really fine. UI UX guys, the UI, the members from the UI team, user experience. Can someone uh, tell me what do we mean by UX? What's the time? Okay, we're almost an hour through. Okay, UX. Anyone, guys?
Yeah, sir, it's user experience.
Yes, but what do we mean by that? What exactly do we mean by user experience?
The process of
Hmm.
like setting the user behavior through usefulness, usability.
Perfect, perfect. You're almost there. Yeah, very nice. I'm really happy that you guys are taking efforts in um, creating awareness or understanding the different terminologies in the industry. I'm really very happy for that. Okay, so I'll give you a quick example of why UX is important. Okay, so you guys might have used Flipkart on Amazon, right? So when you log into Flipkart, you're trying to search for a particular item, and you don't get that item listed. Okay, you have to scroll, and somewhere you know deep down there, you may get something that is related. Okay, or for example, you are searching for a television, but you would like to search for an LED television with such and such technology, which can connect to the internet, for example, with this inches, and with this price range. if Flipkart is providing you all these things right over there in that particular screen, you will get what you want in maybe a matter of 5 minutes, 5 to 10 minutes, right? But at the same time, if Flipkart doesn't show you this controls right there, you are facing difficulty. You have been searching for maybe half an hour or 45 minutes, and still you're not satisfied with the search results that you're getting. What will you do? You'll just close that tab window and go to Amazon. You know that there is another platform, Amazon, where I can possibly get what I want. And once you log into Amazon, what do you see? You have everything right there. Left side, you have the filters over there, and any person with who's not a techie, maybe he can just go there and can see what is there, and the filters are again relevant to the product that you're searching for. This is what user experience is all about. And why I give you this example is this, because this is very, very important. Flipkart will lose business if their customers are not able to find what they're looking for on their side. It will just move the customers away from Amazon. And once the customer has moved to Amazon, it is highly unlikely that he will go back again to Flipkart. He'll think like, nahi yaar, jhanjat hai, nahi chahiye. I'll search in Amazon, I'll get it right away in 5 minutes. Bye bye to Flipkart. Lost the business, right? So this is very important. Then there are front-end developers. Front-end developers, I have made a different point. We have seen developers, but the front-end developers are different. I'll tell you why. Because they have to take care of the look and feel, right? Now these are very close. Front-end developers, UI, UX. It's very, it's sort of mixed together, right? You have to be a person who is working as a front-end developer. He has to have a very good observation. One pixel here and there, it should be visible to him at least. If not the end user, at least he should know that this particular text box here should be moved 1 pixel to the left. The alignment has gone wrong, right? So a different set of challenges altogether when we say front-end developers. Database administrators. We know what a database system is, right? But managing database systems is in itself a task. You need to have contingency servers. What if your database, the server that you are using is cached, it gets crashed, the system is crashed? What do you do? The data is lost. You cannot do that. You cannot afford that, right? So what do? We have a contingency server. But then the data has to be synced up between the two, right? Just to give you a basic understanding of what sort of challenges that area talks about. Then there are cloud developers. So cloud infrastructure is quite in use. So please consider a basic course on cloud infrastructure. Okay, please go to Udemy or Coursera or someplace. Consider taking a quick course on the fundamentals. Don't get deep into it. You may not understand everything, but at least an understanding of what cloud infrastructure means is pretty much important. So cloud developers, they manage the cloud infrastructure, connectivity of various software components. For example, your front end part could be deployed in one server, your backend part could be deployed in another server. Then there could be another backend application which is talking to this application that you have. Then there could be a database server somewhere deployed somewhere. How do these applications, how do these servers connect? All these are in different servers in the cloud infrastructure, right? So cloud developers do that. Then there are network engineers, right? Who manage the LAN in your office, right? Okay. Any doubts in okay, I'll come to the doubts later on then. Let me just finish off. So these are all the roles that are relevant to you in the previous slide and this slide, whatever we talked about. These are some things that you can consider for yourself, right? And there are other people. So as one of my friends asked me a couple of minutes ago before we started this section, how does the project execution happen? So we'll get a better clarity now. Okay. Just hang on. Then there are business analysts or product owners. Okay, you'll come across this role in any given project that you're working on. Who are business analysts? They talk to the customers. They are the one who interact with the clients, okay, and who take the requirements, and they have it documented, the entire requirements documented. Then they perform a round of analysis around those requirements, because client will never ever give you 100% of their requirements. It's a big pain. I mean, communicating with client is actually a big pain. Okay, so you have to take a set of requirements from them, you have to analyze it, you have to make sure there are no gaps. Definitely there would be a number of gaps after the first interaction. Then they list down those gaps, that okay, so this particular things are not clear, how this is going to happen in your business, this is not clear to me. They come up with those doubts. There is a second level of interaction that happens with the clients, and so on. Product owner is slightly different in the context that product owners deal with product development. So there is service development and product development that typically happens, right? Product development means, for example, MS Office. Okay, MS Office is a product. Why? Because many people use it, right? So it's available for download somewhere on the website, and people download it and they use it. Correct. Now, MS Office guys, they will have some product owners. What those product owners will do, they'll keep a tab on other similar product that's available in the market, LibreOffice. Um, and by the way, this particular slideshow that I've created is not using PPT. It may look good, but then it's not PPT. It's from the Google Docs. Okay, so product owners will take a look at what's happening. How can you continually improve the product? Okay, and taking surveys from the end users, understanding what people need to be able to use their product more effectively is what something product owners deal with. Okay, so in a nutshell, these people talk about the requirements of the project. I mean, that's where the flow starts. Okay, then there are Scrum masters and Agile practitioners. Most of our projects are executed on Agile practices. So waterfall is sort of outdated. There are hardly anyone using waterfall. Okay. Then when we talk about Agile practices, so Scrum is one of the Agile practices. There are many others, Kanban and all that. So I'll not confuse you with a lot of information on that front. But Scrum Master typically deals with communication happening among within the team. Okay, so there are 4 to 5 developers, 3 to 4 testers, and then there's the business analyst. Okay, they all collaborate for the implementation part, right? They have their own roles to play. Now our developers want a certain piece of information. Okay, they'll ask the scrum master that I am stuck at such a place, I'm not able to understand how this will work in a real business scenario. So Scrum Master will make sure that he gets in touch with the business analyst and get the information. This is just one role that I mentioned. There are many other things that a Scrum Master does. He makes sure that day-to-day activities are on track, setting milestones on a day-to-day basis. That on this particular day, if we have to finish this part in this week, we have to finish at least this part. Keeping a track of it and making sure that things are happening at the right pace. Okay, uh, right. Project management. Okay, uh, so project management people are highly experienced people who are mostly involved in managing the team in the sense, uh, now we have a set of requirements that the business analyst has come up with. So business analysis is done with his analysis. He has documented everything. Okay, what do we need to implement? What is expected and what is the timeline? He has these inputs from the client. Now he discusses with the project management people. Okay, now they talk and they say, okay, we will need the project manager will say that to implement this part, we will need these many resources. Resources in the sense, the team members. These many team members, these many people are needed on development, these many people are required on QA, right? And if the client wants it a bit earlier, then maybe we can add these many people. Again, the billing will increase. Is the client okay with that, with the billing part? Okay, because the more developers you add in, the more the client will have to pay you, right? Again, that sort of analysis. Okay, non-technical part. Okay, again technical, it has to be technical because a project manager has to know that, okay, if we are talking about this particular set of requirements, the person will have to have a fair idea of what is needed from the technical front to implement this, right? So looking at the requirements, he needs to have a sort of idea that, okay, this typical thing means at least 3 to 4 months of work, right? Which is why we need that sort of experience, right? Then account managers. Account managers are this typically happens in a service-based organization. Okay, for example, TCS has multiple clients. Okay, TCS, one of the clients that TCS caters to is, for example, HSBC. Okay, so HSBC is one account, and account manager is one point of contact to whom the HSBC guys will talk to. So HSBC guys will need someone, one particular person, one particular point of contact to talk to, right? To maybe to get the status, maybe to figure out certain things, maybe to understand the current project status, right? So account managers are those people. Again, these two work interchangeably. Many a times account manager does this work, project management work as well. For example, Diwali is, doing rounds now. Diwali is around the corner, and there are a lot many people going on leave, but we need to have the deliverable on time. So how do we manage that, right? One, so these are the sort of challenges that these people deal with. Okay, uh, technical architects. So these persons, right? They work in isolation. In the sense, we have a set of requirement, we are developing from scratch, but what is the design, what is the high level design? Okay, this is what technical architects do. So coming back to the question that was asked in the beginning of this section, how does the execution happen? These people look at the market requirements, right? The client requirements and the market requirements. They take it with these guys, all these guys, right? They make an estimation, they make a proposal and post it to the clients, and they say this is what we have. Okay, and again, it's not the case that client have approached only these people. They might have approached many other IT organizations as well, right? They will have a different set of proposals. Then there is a sort of race, who is being more economical and who is giving in a lesser timeline, right? So these people are mostly these people. Okay, they are mostly accountable to get the project in the first place and to make sure that things are going on smoothly with the clients, right? And these people deal with only the requirements, analyzing the requirements. They are not they don't deal with the relationship, client relationship and all those things. It's the part of this guy's responsibilities, right? And then once this is raised, this guy works on it. Okay, to make sure that to talk about the the complete infrastructure, right? How many servers, how contingency would be planned if one server is down? How do you make sure that the services are not interrupted? Okay, he comes with a technical design basically, and it is passed over to the team. Okay, and then these people, this is where you people will be. Sorry, with this I mean the Scrum, or the Scrum team. Okay, you'll be a part of the Scrum team, mostly if your organization is following Agile practices, and then these people take things ahead and to the end, right? This is how things happen. Any questions? Did I make the point clear?
Yes,
Anyone?
sir.
Yes, please.
Sir, how the meeting run, daily meeting run of the Scrum?
Okay. There are certain very good question by the way. So there are certain things, certain meetings that happen. They are called Scrum ceremonies. Okay. So in the beginning of a sprint, now sprint means maybe 2 or 3 weeks of duration. We call it as a sprint. So what do we need to accomplish in this duration? Okay. Then requirements are again. So I don't intend to get into the Scrum because again, it will be a talk in itself. It will be a topic in itself. Okay, or a 1 hour talk definitely. Okay, so in the beginning, the team sits. They try to understand what needs to be implemented. They have the requirements clarified. Okay, so everyone is on the same page. Everyone understands what needs to be developed. The developer knows what needs to be developed. The tester has an idea of the different scenarios that needs to be tested. Okay, timelines are fixed. Okay, and then the development starts in a particular sprint. Okay, Scrum Master will make sure that the progress is happening at a daily basis, right? Every day in the morning, even I have to do that actually. I conduct this something called stand-up discussion, stand-up meeting. Stand-up meeting lasts for 15 to 20 minutes, where every team member says what he or she is had done yesterday, what he or she plans to do today, and if there is any blockage. Okay, blockage in the sense there is one xyz bug, but the person is not sure, the QA is not sure whether it is a bug or not, and the person needs a clarification from the business analyst, right? So Scrum Master will take a note of it and make sure that the QA member, that particular QA member is unblocked. Okay, so that 15 to 20 minute discussion is what happens. We get back to our work, we work the whole day, and next day again the same thing. We have a small stand up, we discuss on what we did yesterday, what we are planning for today. Again, Scrum Master sees that whatever we are planning for today, is that up to the mark, or do we need to take something more, we implement something more, right? Did I answer your question?
So one more
Yes.
question from this topic.
Uh-huh.
Sir, the Scrum Masters are also focusing on whatever the performance are doing. It means whatever we have done successfully or whatever we
Yes.
have done, whatever we
Yes.
have performed failures.
Yes, correct, correct, correct. So there's something called team velocity. That's the technical term. Okay. So team velocity says that a particular team was able to deliver this much of the work in the first sprint. Then they delivered this much in the second sprint and this much in the third sprint. So when they analyze this particular thing, right, they come up with something called team velocity, and that velocity is an input in the upcoming sprint. That team can easily take this much of work in this sprint and they'll be able to do it. See, because when the team starts working on a certain particular set of requirements, they get better at it, right? They know the domain, they get a greater understanding of the domain. They may face lot of questions in the first sprint, but those questions will gradually reduce in the upcoming sprints because they know the area, right? They know that particular area. You're absolutely right.
Sir,
That's one
from
more. Yeah.
sir, from then we can understand that we are success in doing in these things or we are failure in doing these things.
Yes,
Is
yes. What is going wrong and how can we handle it? If something has gone wrong, how can we avoid it in future? That is also a responsibility. You are 100% right.
Sir, one more familiar question is that
Mhm.
uh, are they familiar with the IT professionals or engineers whoever working in the team?
Familiar in the sense, sorry, I didn't get your question.
Means how should I know that I have succeeded properly or I have failured in whatever I have?
As a Scrum Master,
No, sir, as a team member.
as a team member.
Yes, sir.
So we have this communications happening, right? I talked about two Scrum ceremonies, something that happens in the beginning to understand the requirements and something that happens on a daily basis. Then there's something that happens at the end of the sprint, something called retrospective call, right? Where we discuss on what went right, what went wrong, estimations, whether we worked as per the estimations or not, how good were the estimations or how bad it was, um, what all challenges did the team face, okay, and everything is documented, my friend. uh,
Okay.
could you please go on mute? Someone seems to be okay. Okay, so everything, each and everything is documented, right? uh, So typically there are units of work, okay, something called story points, okay. So how many story points did the team accomplish in a given sprint collectively? How many story points did the developers work on, and how many story points did the QA take to test it? And even after the release, were there any bugs reported from the client's end? That is a big deal. There should not be a single case that is coming from the client's end, ideally speaking. But things go wrong, and it does happen that client comes up with some sort of complaint that, hey, this feature is not working fine, right? And
Sir,
yeah, please hold on. So whoever asked this question, did I clarify? Um, did you get your answer?
Yes, sir, I got it.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, next question, please.
sir, do they allow someone to change the requirement? Some other person.
No, it's mostly dealt with these people. Requirements are dealt with these people, and requirements before the team starts working, right? The requirements should be frozen in the sense it should be well analyzed with these guys. I mean, that's the responsibility of these people, that requirements are frozen. Requirements, I mean, once we say that these, when we come up with the set of facts, right, that these are the things that we know, and these are the things that we would like to develop. Once these things are frozen, it shouldn't be changed ideally. But then, yeah, certain times, if you're dealing with a very name sort of a client, right? For example, in my first organization, we were dealing with transporters, bus operators. They used to come somewhere in the between and say that, no, 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 this is not right. We want it this way. And sometimes they used to come up and say, no, 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 the market has changed. Now we don't want it that way. We want it this way. That is when we have completed more than 50% of the part. They come up and say, we need this change, and we have to make the changes. It happens. But it is mostly these guys who deal with it firsthand. Okay, they talk to clients, and they make them understand that this change, whether it can be taken up or not, if yes, why, if not, why, how it will impact the clients themselves. Because uh, if they're asking us to add certain features at this point in time, it may not be feasible, right? So yeah, n number of challenges in this actually. uh, yeah, but to answer your question, yes, these people take care of, it's their responsibilities. And then if the client is adamant that no, I want this, then they approach these people, right? And these people sit together. Maybe this guy will have a second round of discussion with the client and try to convince him, right? And then the client says, no, 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 I want it. Okay, then these people will sit together. The technical architect will come into picture, the team will come into picture, and then we'll sit together and decide how well can we accommodate it, what are the challenges, right? Typically, I mean, not typically, ideally this is how things should happen, but it varies from organization to organization. It really varies. But this is an ideal framework that I'm talking about. Did I answer your question?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Yeah, next question, please. Anyone?
So one another question.
Yes, please.
So as considering as I am studying in third year,
Okay.
So what should I do and how should I get practice so that I will get a job just after completing my graduation? And
Mm-hmm.
the post graduation is necessary or not, or only completing my graduation is well?
Okay, okay. Very good question, and this is one of the critical points of our today's discussion. Please bear with me. I'm going to cover that in the next slides. I have it noted, right?
Sure, sir. Sure, sir.
Okay. Yes. Any questions around this? Most importantly, around this. Now, do you have a clear picture of how project execution takes place in an IT organization? Okay. Let's proceed. So the main idea why I gave you so much of insights is that you can actually think of, you can choose your path, right? You need to choose your path. You need to decide yourself what role or what sort of role would you like to get into. For example, you think that you are good at development, you are logical thinking capabilities is really good. For example, you think that you like to solve problems a lot, then development is the way forward. You can become a developer, right? Again, in development, what excites you? Dealing with a large set of problems, breaking it and solving it. Enterprise application development, mobile apps. You're a fan of mobile apps. You like to work with mobile apps. Mobile app development is the way ahead, right? And then what sort of technologies are needed? If you talk about mobile apps, Android, typically it is done with Kotlin. There's a language called Kotlin, right? um, Again, we have iPhone development as well, with a different set of languages. We have C language, right? The Objective C, sorry, Objective C is one language I know. So whether DevOps interests you, right? You can think of that. You can take the DevOps track where you need to have little bit of development knowledge to develop. DevOps is also a developer. Okay, it's developer operation. So DevOps, maybe you're not pretty good at knowing a language end to end, that is fine, but you know coding to some extent, you know the development process, right? And then there are certain other things that's involved in it. Again, you do some sort of scripting is nothing but coding. Again, you do a lot of configuration, it involves a lot of configuration, but mainly to understand the different components involved, the web application server, the database server, and then how to configure, how to configure VPC, for example. There's something called VPC in the cloud infrastructure. How to configure that, how to restrict access to this servers, right? To DevOps does that. So you should actually think. You should try to understand your strengths. What are you good at? Just sit in one place, think what you're good at, what are your strengths, and accordingly think of the role where you may possibly fit well, and start moving in that direction. Typically when freshers come out, they are open to anything, which is a good thing. Again, okay, they're open to work as a developer. Happy to work as a QA, बस job दे दो मुझे बस. ठीक है. So which is a good thing. You need to be flexible enough, that's fine. But if on today's date you decide that okay, mobile app development is something that I would love to work on, you will start learning the frameworks, you will start learning the languages, and maybe you will start developing certain mobile applications by yourself and see how things work. So by the time you are out searching for a job, you have certain exposure and you have certain heavy words that you can put into your resume. Just imagine an employer is trying to shortlist from like hundreds of resumes, and he has a requirement, he knows that he has a requirement for mobile app development, and he sees Kotlin over there, Objective C over there. So yes, you are sort of shortlisted, at least you get an opportunity over there. to showcase yourself. Otherwise, you are coming up with a very generic format, right? There's hardly anything, over there, or there's no work visible over there in your resume. Then how would a recruiter know whether to shortlist you or not? That's the question, right? So why I am telling you, why I am explaining you this entire stuff is, choose your path. Try to understand what you're good at, and uh, just create your way forward. Okay, and maybe you can also plan your final year project with that. If you're already doing it, well and good. But those guys in the third year, or who are not in the final year right now, it's the right time for you to think about it and choose your path accordingly, right?
Sure, sir. I am absolutely satisfied your answer. But considering as I'm studying in the third tier college,
Okay.
so what is the priority of the industries? Whether it is first, second, or third, I think so. Third is not required so much. So what should I do in that situation? And looking to current scenario, the
Hmm.
companies, the industry is saying that we are offering per year minimum 40,000 jobs in every industry,
Okay.
but there are no off campus in any colleges as
Hmm.
I know. So how the students and how the freshers are getting recruited in the industry? Which path is that? I'm not getting it.
Okay, okay, okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Very, very, very good question. Okay. Uh, Now, who told you that off campuses don't happen? I mean, how did you come to that conclusion?
Sir, according to last 2 years, my some colleagues and some friends are there. Actually, my
Mm-hmm.
friends are there. All
Mm-hmm.
are studying in first year colleges wherever I am.
Mm-hmm.
So they suggested me to take admissions to such colleges
Mm-hmm.
who hire the off campuses like first year colleges. So at that time, I decided why should I do that if the experience and the knowledge is enough.
Mm-hmm.
So once I met yesterday my friend, he was telling that only
Mm-hmm.
uh, from last 2 years they have no off campus in their colleges. So I decided I have asked why he was studying in first year colleges. So what is going on? So he just smiled and answered me. I also don't know, but it's going on.
Okay.
But
So in the beginning of our discussion, um, we saw why, and we know, we sort of try to understand whether freshers are required or not, right? And what advantage do organizations get by hiring freshers? We did find that, right? We have gone through those points. Yeah.
yes,
Now, as I said, the pain involved in off-campus interviews is the crowd, and the people in the organization are clueless. How do I manage this crowd, and how do I filter people out from this crowd? Okay, so this is something that typically happens. Okay, so my suggestion is, okay, don't target any specific set of organizations. Don't think that, okay, I need to get into Infosys or Tech Mahindra or Wipro or IBM, or whatever big brands you might have heard of. Okay, don't get into that sort of mindset. If there is a small organization who is hiring freshers, okay, they're ready to hire freshers. They may not pay you pretty decent salary. They may not, but then it is okay for you to pull on for a year and gain some exposure from there. Correct?
yes,
Yeah. So why not to get there? I'll tell you my own story. Okay, off campus, I didn't get any on campus opportunity. Okay, so there was just one organization that had come up, Persistent Systems, and they had hired three. I mean, they had shortlisted three and offered just to one guy among the three again, and that's how it worked. uh, Unfortunately, I was not selected, and when I went to off campus interviews, my dad showed me a newspaper classified ad, one small ad. Okay, this is
Yes, yes.
required BE fresher, computer science for this infotech, some XYZ infotech. By the look of it, it was pretty clear that it's a very small organization. Okay, I thought of giving it a try. I went there. It was a small organization which was running in one floor, okay, in one building floor, and the total strength may not be more than 50 people, okay, including the owner and the other staff over there, the HR, the accounts guys. Maybe overall, it may not be more than 50 members. Interview process went well, okay, and there were certain things in my resume which I'll be sharing with you in the next few slides, uh, which immediately struck an impression with them that this guy is, मतलब ये बंदा हमारे काम का है, okay, that's, they were convinced. And I cleared the first two rounds and I went to the final round. Okay, the salary that they offered me, it was 8,000 per month. Okay, 8,000 per month, uh, including PF. So I was expected to get something like 6,500 or something like that in my hand. And I agreed. Believe me, I agreed. Because I was getting some sort of exposure over there. I got to know about their projects. I asked them what sort of projects you're working on. So those were like .NET projects, enterprise applications. And it was like, okay, I was fine with it. Why I didn't take that opportunity is a different story. They wanted me to submit my original documents with them for a lock-in period of 3 years. So if I leave before 3 years, they are not going to give me my document back. And that was the sort of condition they had, which is why I didn't take that opportunity. Otherwise, I had decided to take that opportunity, work there for 1.5 years, and then look for a better opportunity. Right? This is one aspect. One more aspect. Do you guys know what freelancing is?
No, sir, sorry.
Okay. So freelancing is one. So there are freelancer platforms. Okay. For example, freelancer.com and I'm forgetting the names. Upstage. No, sorry, I'm not remembering the names now. So freelancer platforms are a platform where different people with different skill set, they upload their profiles, okay, and then suppose I don't have an organization, for example, but I have an idea. I think that I can have a mobile app created for this some particular business requirement, and I can start earning from that. But I don't have technical knowledge, for example. Okay, what I do is I cannot go to a software organization because software organizations are looking for a bigger engagement mostly, right? The sort of work that I have may be completed in 1.5 months, right? I post my requirements in that site, and different mobile app developers who might be there in that platform, they will get a notification, or they may browse the way you guys might browse on Naukri.com, right? You'll get all the relevant projects available there. You can bid there. Bidding in the sense, you can click that link, go through the client requirements, what is mentioned there, and then you can say that, okay, I will finish this work in these many days with this many rupees or dollars per day charge. Okay, I mean, just an example. Okay, so you can just mention there, and once a person has posted his requirements, he'll wait for maybe 7 to 10 days maybe, and then he'll get, after 7 to 10 days, he'll get a list of requirements that, okay, not requirements, sorry, a list of candidates who has, applied for that, for solving that problem, right? And then reputations. Okay, there are challenges. It's not very easy. Okay, you need to have a certain amount of reputation. You can do some hook and crook techniques for building up reputation over there, and so he can. So as a client, what the client will do, you will see among the 10 people who have applied or who have shown interest to develop that particular piece of code for him. Who is the best among them? Someone has given a very low rate, but then he doesn't have a reputation. He'll go next. No, so on. So that's how it works actually. That's one thing. Okay. Uh, One more thing that you can do, what really worked for me. Okay, I mean, I mentioned about something in my profile that struck an impression, direct impression, right? My father was working for an organization, Supreme Industries in Jalgaon, right? So I just casually asked them, is there anything that I can build for you? Okay, and he just came up with a requirement that I want to manage gate passes for people. I want to have a system wherein the people come in to meet someone. Okay, the other person who is sitting within the organization, right? That person has to authorize, saying that yes, allow him, and then the person is allowed. And then the system should give me an alert that if the person has not come out in say 4 hours or 6 hours, the the security personnel monitoring that system should get an alert that this guy has not come out, right? Then there is pre-authorization that can happen, that the person sitting inside can pre-authorize this person, saying that okay, I'm expecting such and such person, please allow him, right? So I had built this system for that organization and I got a certificate from them. I did it free of cost, but I learned hell a lot of things in this, and it was pretty exciting, let me tell you. And I highlighted that, I made it a point to highlight that thing in my resume, and it gave me, it was so awesome that um, I got my job in my third interview. Believe me, third interview. I didn't go. मैंने companies के चक्कर नहीं काटे. Seriously speaking, the first one is what I just mentioned, who are offering me something like 8K or something. The other one didn't work out because they had some expectations. They had some other level of expectations which I couldn't fulfill. The third one was Robosoft Technologies, where I got selected. So I'm talking in practical terms, something that really worked for me. Okay. So am I making sense? Whatever I'm saying, does it sound practical to you guys?
Yes, sir, I got it.
Anyone, anything, any random thought coming in their mind? Feel free to express it.
Sir,
Yes.
So, in this IT field,
Uh-huh.
is there is having more scope for networking or coding?
Uh, Everyone is needed. Uh, the demand, if you ask me, demand is more on um, developers and QA. That sort of demand is on a higher side because, as I mentioned, these are the people who do the things, who work at the grassroots level. Okay. Uh, After that, we have DevOps guys, DevOps people. Uh, Demand may be slightly lesser, but yes, even they are in quite demand these days. Because see, I think you shouldn't be focusing on this part at the moment. Okay, I mean the question is valid, but then you shouldn't be thinking in this direction at this point in time, as an engineering student. If you think that networking is something that interests you, or if you have been able to complete some course, or if you are good at it, right? You shouldn't be thinking whether industry has demand in this part or not. You shouldn't be thinking about it. Rather, you should be polishing your skills and applying for the proper positions. What This is my honest thinking about your question.
Yes, sir.
Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
So even if you are good at UI, right, UI designing, if you are good at user experience, don't think whether यार demand कितना है industry में. Don't go by that statistics. Just focus on your strengths. It will take you a long way, believe me. You may not
Okay.
You may not get lot many opportunities. Maybe suppose you're good at networking, you try to apply as a network engineer. Make sure that you have some certifications in hand. Okay, so to prove that you are good at networking, because as a network professional, you cannot work on private projects, right? You cannot. Maybe you can get into internship, unpaid internships, for example. You can assist the network engineers in an organization. You may get such sort of opportunities. Somewhere it is showing up in your resume. Somewhere it is proving that you have got the right skills for this job, right? You're good with it.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Yeah.
So, as you getting elder in your professional field,
Mm-hmm.
so I have one common question.
Mm-hmm.
Keeping inside the coding ability or thinking ability.
Mm-hmm.
So, if the fresher comes to you
Mm-hmm.
with his or her resume,
Mm-hmm.
do their his percentages and CGPA
Ah,
highlights his resume? Is it so?
yeah, very, very, very good question. And it's a very practical question again, right? So as a professional, okay, I believe many more professionals like me and many more experienced guys like me, if we are given a bunch of resumes, fresher resumes, and if we are told to sort those, shortlist certain profiles out of it, we would definitely look for some technical thing. Definitely. I will, even if the person maybe has taken a year more in completing the course, okay, but the person has a certification in Red Hat, certain, or maybe his CCNA certified. He is maybe AWS associate, cloud architect certified, right? Not architect, sorry. You cannot be an cloud architect, but cloud professional or something like that. You have cloud associate, I think. You have that some certification in cloud infrastructure. If you have done that, it shows a keen interest on your part to work. It shows that you have some idea of what we are expecting out of you, right?
Yes, sir.
Right. And that there's another aspect to it. What I mentioned is, when HR recruiters are given a bunch of 500 resumes, okay, at that point in time, they may look at the marks. They may, the possibility cannot be ruled out. Then there are certain organizations. Again, yeah, yeah, good. You reminded me. There are certain organizations like TCS. TCS is one classic example. Okay, they say that we want throughout 60%. Even if you go with 3 to 4 years of experience, they will scan your resume based on that. And until and unless they don't have a very urgent requirement, they may not even consider you. But these are exceptional organizations. I mean, it doesn't mean that they rejected you means everyone will reject you. That's not the case. Maybe they are not fine with it. They have some thought process behind it. They have some logic behind it. But okay, TCS doesn't want me, fine. I have the world in front of me, right? Does that answer your question?
Yes, sir.
Okay, good.
Sir, but the main thing is that
Mm-hmm.
whenever if you are HR and if you are watching or reading my resume, at that
Mm-hmm.
time you will definitely look towards my CGPA or my percentages. So,
Mm-hmm.
what percentages should highlight it?
If you are in, if you have scored first class marks, okay, I'm 60% or above, typically, uh, shouldn't be a matter of concern to me. I'm giving you a very typical hypothetical sort of a scenario. Okay, I mean it depends. It depends from organization to organization, as I mentioned. But in general, if I see that okay, you have 60% or above, something above 60%, right? It somewhere says that you are a committed person as well. If you have a gap, if you have a year gap, somewhere I may get a perception that you lack in terms of commitment. Again, people don't get that judgmental always. No, there are genuine reasons why behind a person having a year gap happens. There could be any number of reasons. There could be a family reason. There could be a health reason, right? So people don't get judgmental on that. But again, there are certain organizations they say that okay, we want at least 60%. The way I mean, I give an example of TCS for example, right? So uh, what I would say, I mean, what I would advise you guys is focus on building the technical skills. Point number one. Point number two, maintain a steady set of marks. Okay. If you are scoring well, excellent. Excellent. I mean, even you can highlight that in your resume. And by the way, in your resume, okay, it's up to you what to highlight and what to keep aside. You have to give all the details, that is fine. But then what would you prefer to highlight? If you are a university topper, definitely you will put that in bold letters somewhere over there that hey, I was a university topper. And HR recruiters may think, okay, let's give this guy a chance. It's very difficult to generalize and give you a common answer for this. But the bottom line is organization wants you for your technical skills. If you are offering that best. Is that
Thank
clear?
you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Do you still have any doubt in your mind? I mean,
Sir,
No, sir. I'm satisfied.
okay. But
sir, I
yes,
have a
please.
question.
Yes, please.
Sir, if I've passed my degree with 60% and above,
Mm-hmm.
but I have a gap of more than 1 year, say more than 1 year.
Mm-hmm.
So does it impact on the job? What I want to do, the job what I want to get?
Mm, the answer is again the same thing. I mean, it's more or less the same question, right? Uh, Gaps may or may not matter depending upon who is screening your resume, but build a very strong profile, right? Show some certification, show some work experience. People will ignore your year down or gap or whatever it is. People may, even if you have second class marks, right? So people may ignore that.
Yes, sir.
Give the organization what they want, right? The person may be a university topper, but if but when I'm recruiting, I'm interviewing a person who is an interview topper, university topper. Okay, I'll see what value can he bring for me. He has been a topper, very good. That's fine. But then, what value would I get from him? Will he be able to do the day to day work that I'll be assigning to him? Yes or no? Does he have the skills? Okay, or at least does he have the logical ability or certain aspects, right? By which at least I can maybe give him a month or two training and then get him started. At least does he have those basic qualities? He or she has those basic qualities that I can train this person. If yes, you're welcome. If no, sorry, you may have been a university topper, but sorry, I don't see any value in you, right?
Yes, sir.
So one more doubt.
Yes,
As
please.
looking to the current scenario and the hello,
Yes, please. Yeah, I'm listening to you.
as looking to the current scenario and the information we are getting from the ministries
Mm-hmm.
that from 2021 we are getting the new education policies.
Uh-huh.
So
Okay.
at that time, many more students who are studying from fifth standard
Mm-hmm.
or more than fifth standard, they can learn programming and all.
Ah.
So, as a IT professional, what would you think which will demand in future, or what we can choose?
Okay. It's slightly off topic for our today's discussion, but yes, since you have asked, I'll definitely answer this. It's very difficult to predict the future. Okay, very difficult. You may think that okay, this thing will come in future, but it may or may not happen. For example, you might have heard of artificial intelligence, right? You might have heard of it. Artificial intelligence is something that was researched many years ago, like somewhere in 70s or 80s, I think. People had come up with those concepts with extensive research, but we didn't have the computational power to do those complex set of calculations. Today we have that, so that's why AI has somewhere come into mainstream, right? Then from somewhere IoT came, Internet of Things, right? IoT is the thing right now, and there is a terminology in manufacturing industry called Industry 4.0, where they talk about connected devices. The entire machinery in an organization, or even different branches of that organization may be located in a different city. They're able to communicate with each other at a machine level. I mean, the machines are communicating. Machine is able to understand what the other machine has produced in a different plant, maybe, right? I mean, that's the sort of capability that we have as of today. Uh, so why coding is has been made up mandatory in the school syllabuses. There is a belief that coding is something that coding is a sort of life skill. That there's a belief that everyone should know coding. I don't know why. I don't know why we have that belief, but it doesn't convince me again, because if I want to get into accounts or something, I may not have to code. I may be using an application rather. But proficiency in using computers, yes, that's a life skill. You need to know that. Why coding? I don't know. I may be wrong, right? But talking about future, I believe AI is something that would be used extensively. Automation, AI based automation, automation based on the predictions that the AI systems will give you is definitely going to be there. Uh, and I don't know what else. Again, when I was in PTC, there people are working on AR, VR, augmented reality, and virtual reality. I hope you guys have come across these terminologies, right? So they are using it for industrial purposes. They have already developed products for it's superb. It's amazing. You guys need to search for it. You can search for in YouTube for augmented reality and virtual reality applications. Apart from gaming, there are pretty exciting real world scenarios where these things can fit in, right? So predicting future is difficult, not only for me, for anyone, for that sake.
Sorry to disturb you, sir. It's not about the future, but actually, suppose if I'm getting pass out in 2022
Uh-huh.
and this policy is being
Mm-hmm.
started in 2021,
Mm-hmm.
definitely there is competition between some freshers and some students who are studying in school life.
No. That's never gonna happen. That's never ever gonna happen. Trust me on that. Because even then, it won't happen that someone has passed, someone is good at coding, and the student has passed 8th standard, and he's competing with you guys as freshers. That's never gonna happen. Don't worry about it. That's the reason why you guys are going through this engineering course, this 4-year course, and there is a good amount of thought process in including these subjects. They may learn coding at the school level, but you have learned database management systems. You have learned networking. You have learned data structures and algorithms, right? You have learned maybe wireless networks, how they work, mobile networks, how they work. You are so there is a reason why you are learning all these things. These are useful stuff, and you need it in your job. To the extent may vary. Some people may need the OS concepts more. Some people may need networking concepts more. Depends on your role or the organization that you're working for. But BE is important. It won't happen that someone has passed 10th standard and they're getting recruited as programmers. That's not gonna happen. Is that clear?
Yes, actually, I mentioned this question because I have heard some of the names. I'm not getting it right now,
Uh-huh.
but some of the school students, one of those, I think so, he's in Hyderabad and working for some organization. So,
Those are exceptional cases, my friend. Some people are blessed with exceptional level of intelligence. I know a guy who's working for IBM's AI platform. I don't remember his name, sorry, but he is a CEO of an organization. He is younger to even you, right? He could be somewhere in his maybe 11th or 12th as of now. But he was a CEO when he was in his high school. There are gifted people, right? Uh, yeah, he so such people they possess certain level of intelligence, right? So they are able to grasp it, they are able to understand what this is all about, and they just get started with it. Okay. And it doesn't mean that they are not learning the subjects that you have learned. That person might have got a job, but then that person will definitely have to study these concepts, the data structures, the algorithms. Somewhere the person might have studied already and understood it pretty well, and that person is able to deliver certain products, or to deliver some code uh, based on his knowledge, based on his intelligence, right? So those are exceptional cases. It doesn't mean that going forward, eighth standard will get a lot of people coming up in it. And consider one thing, right? So that will come into picture in 2022, right? So in 2022 there's a change, and it will take another 6 years for these students to, you know it will start from the basic level. It will start from that KG level, KG nursery level, and then it would take these guys to at least around 6 to 7 years maybe to learn coding, right? Again,
so
there are platforms like White Hat Junior. You might have heard about it.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So it is somewhere helping the kids to learn new things. It is creating an interest. It is creating awareness. All good, but doesn't mean that they can just get into a software industry and start working. That's not going to happen, because you need a level of maturity as well, my friend. You need to understand that. You need to have a level of maturity, a level of seriousness, a mindset, a stable mindset rather, right?
Thank you, sir.
Okay, we are really running out of time. So I'll quickly go through the next set of very important slides. Okay, I think we have almost touched on these parts. Good to have, and practical knowledge is a must have. You need to have practical knowledge. So you need to have working knowledge. Sorry, there's a typo here. It's working knowledge of some concepts, maybe the networking, maybe the cloud infrastructure, maybe programming language, but practical working knowledge is very important. Clear fundamentals. If you say you are a Java developer, your Java language fundamentals has to be clear. It's not that you are able to code and you are just trying to apply for a job. No, that's not going to work out. You need to have your fundamentals clear. You need to the best way is to go through a book. Okay, just read a book from chapter 1 to the last chapter. Try out the various examples that you have. Okay, don't rely too much on the online platforms. Okay, very important. Don't think that I've completed a course on Udemy or Coursera and now I'm good to go. No, definitely no. Or maybe you might have gone through an example mentioned in that course in Udemy, and you think that no, I have learned everything now. No, 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 no. Definitely no. You, to understand everything, to understand a language or a concept, you need to start from the beginning, start from the basics. Okay, you do get started. You go through an Udemy course, get an overview how things work, get a working knowledge. Fine, good. But then you have to come back. You have to come back, start from chapter number 1, and try to understand things. I'll give you a very good example of myself. When I had 5 to 6 years of experience, I was trying to change my job. Okay, and I was trying to prepare. I don't remember this person, one of my seniors, right? He suggested me a book, that read this book. I started with chapter 1, and surprisingly, I came across certain concepts in chapter number 1, which I didn't know with 5 years of experience. Believe me. And the knowledge that I got from that book is with me even now. Somewhere it is helping me mentor my juniors as well. I'm adding value to those guys as well. So you get a really exceptional level of language knowledge. Okay, if you take this, follow this process. It takes time, but then it's worth it. It's all worth it. And once you read and understand the concepts, it will be there with you, right? Certification is a plus, definitely. Okay, even if you're not able to complete a certification exam, the concepts that you will learn for preparing, it will be a lot of value add for you, right? Think logically. Okay, you might have n number of questions. For example, I'm sorry for the person who asked this question, but then there was this question, right? The people are, there are school students will possibly learn coding in their high schools, and maybe they will compete with us. So logically, if you think about it, the first level of answer that you will get is people will start from the beginning. So definitely there will be no one to compete with you at this point in time, because those people will take some number of years to reach high school level. Number one. Point number two, if you think logically, what's the level of maturity that a high school guy has? Would that work in a corporate world, right? I mean, that logical thinking is a mindset. It should be your approach when you think about it, right? Think about anything very logically. Think what the other person wants. Think about what is required, what is important for me to do right now. I mean, that's how, that's the approach. Have that approach in your mind. Ability to apply knowledge. Yes, you learned the entire Java language, but then when you're given a problem statement, you're not able to code. No use, right? So you have to practice. You have to know when to apply what concepts in the language, and you should be able to apply your knowledge pretty well. Absorb the requirements. Okay, you have a problem statement. You should be able to understand what is needed here. Pay very close attention to the problem statement, and then start solving it. So many things, it might have happened with you guys. You're solving a question in your exams, and suddenly you realize that the question was something else, and what I'm writing is on a different direction altogether. Might have happened with you guys, and it happens more often when you deal with this professional stuff. So be very mindful. Try to understand, um, even when you're giving interviews, right? Clarify the question. Okay, the person has asked you a question. Try to understand what the person is trying to ask. Have some clarity on the question in the first place. Think about it and then answer, right? Don't make assumptions. Most importantly, don't make assumptions, because see, I'm someone who takes 3 to 4 interviews per week on an average, honestly speaking. And the experience level varies from, say, around some 2 years to almost 10 years. I've you know I assess these guys in the first round of interview, and the sort of learnings I have from this is, I mean, it's altogether a different topic, altogether a different talk. Seriously. So people do commit mistakes, and I've tried to put all those things in this slide. Okay, I hope you guys take a leaf out of it. Communicate ideas clearly. Suppose in an interview you're told to solve a problem. Okay, so while solving, don't just put your head down and start flipping on the paper. Okay, try to explain your thought process to the person. Suppose the person has asked you to write code for binary search. First of all, explain that person what do we mean by binary search and how it is good. Tell him the approach for binary search. Okay, and then tell him that what approach would you be taking to solve the problem. For example, recursion. Tell that person that, okay, I'll be solving this problem using recursion. Okay, and then start writing, and while writing try to explain it to the other person. Be communicative, right? And you may go wrong, not a problem. Even if you go wrong, it's okay. But how will you recover? How will you go back, see what's going wrong and try to correct it? Okay, it's expected that mistakes do happen in interviews. Don't get stuck over there. As an interview, I know that the person may not get the solution in the first go. No problem. But the thought process, how clearly are you able to communicate your thoughts to me? That matters a lot. What's not preferred? Uh, People who blindly take orders. For example, team lead comes and says, I want this implemented. The person goes, starts coding. And somewhere in the middle, he realizes that, hey, I didn't analyze. I didn't take a look at what is already available. Maybe there was a piece of code already available somewhere, which is sort of similar. I could have taken it from there, made some tweaks, and within half an hour or within an hour, this thing would have been ready, right? On the contrary, there's this person who just starts coding and says, और डेडलाइन है कंप्लीट करना है. It's a loss, and such people are really not preferred in a team, right? And when your lead or when your senior comes up and says that I want this, he is also expecting you to analyze it further and communicate issues, if any, to him. Because when things go wrong, they will ask you back and say, hey, did you think about it while implementing? Didn't you think that, okay, this might have gone wrong, right? So asking questions is good, but asking relevant questions. Again, don't ask questions for the sake of it. Ask relevant questions, get a context, understand the problem, and then start working, right? Same thing, doesn't care about the business requirement. Guys, people with 7 to 8 years of experience commit this mistake. They don't care about the business requirements at all. They are only focused on the technical thing. How will I implement this? यहाँ ये कोड है, मैं यहाँ से ये उठा लूंगा, इसमें थोड़ा ऐसा कर दूंगा, हो जाएगा, done. But what is the business problem? What sort of problem is it solving? Basically, domain के अंदर ऐसा क्या है जो ये solve हो रहा है यहाँ पे? ठीक है? Think from that perspective. You'll be a winner. Because when you start thinking from that perspective, when you'll get certain doubts. You may ask the business analyst or your lead about it. It may be wrong, it may be very relevant, that's fine. But asking questions is very important. Gaining a clarity is very important. Okay, and the more earlier you understand the domain in the sense, suppose you are developing a software for a hospital, the earlier you understand the challenges that the people working in hospital, right, the hospital staff is facing. If you think from their perspective what problem they are facing, you will come with amazing ideas, and that will give a big boost to your career. You will be a recognized person in your team, believe me. Too much attention to detail. So there are certain people who think a lot. मैं ऐसे करूंगा तो शायद स्लो हो जाएगा, मैं ऐसे करूंगा तो 2-3 वेरिएबल एक्स्ट्रा चले जाएंगे. ठीक है, fine. Come to a solution. Time bound your analysis. If you're analyzing, just time bound it. That half an hour I'm going to spend or 1 hour I'm going to spend on this. Okay. Why I'm telling you all these things? Try to follow these things in your college project. When you are developing your college project, when you're developing a hobby project, try to follow these things. These are real world things that I have been seeing on a day-to-day basis. Okay. Unfocused. So there are some distracted guys. They're interested in something else. Probably they don't find the thing interesting. So if you're not interested, try to leave the place at the earliest. Otherwise, you'll be in a bigger mess. Honest suggestion. But try to retrospect why you are not interested. Maybe you don't know a particular technology, so you're not able to understand. You're not able to figure out your own ways, which is causing some sort of disinterest. Maybe if you take up a course, maybe if you learn further, you could be better off, right? Preparation for job. I have already told all these things. Okay. Professional networking, guys, one very important point on this. I'm getting lot many connection requests from freshers on my LinkedIn profile, but when I get into their profile, right, there's nothing. Student at this college, this university. That's it. Now, what do I do with it? Right? Is there any value that you are giving me? Is there any value that you can possibly provide me? Right? And same thing happens with resumes. Plain blank resume, uh, pass this you know, uh, pass this course with this much percentage, then academics semester wise this marks, done. Doesn't help me. So sometimes there is a mention of the final year project that you did, and there is one paragraph, like 6 to 7 lines on what was the domain, what was the problem statement, right? And there's no mention of the technologies you used. Again, doesn't help me. I should be knowing what technical skills do you have. That's the most important thing in your profile. So whenever you create a resume, make sure that that comes at the top. Okay, you have some experience, you have created some projects, you have worked on some hobby projects, get that at the top. Show it off to the recruiters, to whomever you're sending it, that hey, I know this, please consider me. Okay, beware of scammers. So you'll come across this, I'm sure, I'm pretty sure there are a lot of scammers out there. Um you pass out of your college and you update your profile on Naukri or Times Job on any such platforms, you'll get a call from these guys that hey, I'll arrange a backdoor entry for you. You have to pay XYZ amount. I'll get you into the institution, into that organization. Okay. First of all, this guy may be bluffing. You never know. He may take your money and run away. Point number two, this guy may be genuine. For example, he may give an opportunity, but then will you be able to survive there? That is that is the second question. You may spend lakhs in getting the first opportunity, but will you be able to survive for at least 6 months over there? Ask yourself that question, whether you are prepared for that before spending that amount. Okay. I mean, it's totally unethical. Don't go for it in the first place. Don't just think about it. Just ignore such people. Then there's another level of scams. If you come to Pune, you'll get a lot of institutes. They say 100% job guarantee. Bold letters in red link. We provide placements, 100% job placement, assistance. Don't blindly believe them. It would be wrong if I take some names here, so I won't do that. There are genuine places. If at all, one genuine place I know is CDAC in Pune. I have interviewed many people who were very good at technicalities, and when I checked in the resume, they had done a course in CDAC. They might have been from electronics background, or they might have been from the computer science background itself, but they have done some advanced course in CDAC. Now, since I am saying, just don't say that यार अभी final exam होने के बाद मैं CDAC में जाने वाला हूँ. No, don't do that. Okay. If you need it, only if you need it, go for it. What I'm saying is they're genuine. They give you some good sort of set of knowledge. Their curriculum, their syllabus is good. They focus on technicalities. Okay, this is going by my personal experience. Don't believe me blindly. Don't believe anyone blindly for that sake. Talk to other people that hey, one guy named Mr. Vikram had taken a session and he said CDAC courses are good. What do you think about it? Take different inputs and act accordingly, right? So don't blindly believe people if they're saying that no, I'll give you job placement. Okay. There are a lot of scammers out there. Don't waste your money and time. Practice. There's no alternative to it. You have to practice. You have to be good. You have to be focused on one particular skill set, and you have to be top notch as a fresher. Whatever this should be the industry expectation. So you have to be somewhere here. Okay, you should be able to confidently answer whatever is being asked to you. So that is when you'll win the game. Work on hobby projects, guys. Think of some client requirements. For example, I wanted to learn mobile app development. Okay, I came with the blind requirement. For example, if I want to know, I want to buy a particular thing, and I want to know nearby there are, for example, 10 provision stores or general stores where I can get this item. Who is giving me for the least rate? If I want to aggregate these guys in a mobile app, what do I do? I just came with this very blind requirement. It may not be practical. No, don't think from the practical aspect. Just come up with a requirement, define those requirements, analyze it, okay, and then work on it. And once you're done, show it off on your resume. Show it off. It strikes a very different level of impression among the recruiters or your interviewers when you say that I worked on this hobby project and this is what it was. I had used this technology to it. It's a totally different level of impression that you're making there. Okay. Real world requirements, as I mentioned. Soft skills, very often neglected point. Your communication has to be good. You should sound confident. You should be able to communicate your ideas clearly. Your thoughts should be clear in the very first place. For example, when you practice coding a lot, okay, somewhere you get a precision in your thought process. When you look at the problem statement, I believe there could be some people, some students right here in amongst us who could have attained this level, that you give them a problem and somewhere they know how to implement it. That picture is already created in a matter of seconds, right? And while implementing, maybe they may have to change a certain things, but somewhere they have a rough idea of how to implement it. Come up to that level, okay? Stay update on latest trends. You guys are, you know, graduating in a golden period. I would say golden period because there are a lot of online things available, online articles, online, a lot of things available online. You have to just search for it. You have to take the effort of making a Google search, filtering out some genuine sources from there, and then trying to understand how it is. And just in case someone is curious on how to do this, what I follow is I use Twitter. Okay, in Twitter, for example, dzone is one account I'm following. That they keep sending latest updates. Then there are technology specific channels, for example, Java Champion. Okay, they keep on posting some new things. So it's a small tweet with a link, with a hyperlink. For example, you click that, you'll get one nice article. You read that article, you get some insights, and after that, just don't leave it there. Try to understand more about it from maybe some other sources, right? Freelancing, yes, you can. I mean, this is a serious thing and this is a practical thing. There are challenges. It's not that you create a profile and you'll get a job. That's not going to happen. But then if your profile is strong, if you are a little bit, if you sort of figure out to strike an impression with your clients, okay, so for that you'll have to practically go and check those platforms. Upwork, sorry, I got that name now. Upwork is one freelancing software, freelancing platform. Just note down that name, Upwork. Okay, or maybe I can just show you. Yes. So this is one such platform. Then there is freelancer.com. Yeah. So just for your reference, right? We are seriously running out of time. Okay, I think I'll share this with share this PPT with maybe Smita ma'am. You can go through this because this is very. This is just for fun. Okay, don't take this seriously. LinkedIn resume, what needs to be there. I've tried to list it out. It's easy to follow. it doesn't need it doesn't need an explanation. Most of the points I've already covered in this. Yeah, introduction. Let's talk about this. The first question in any interview is introduce yourself, and that is the first impression or the first opportunity to mark impression with your interviewers. Okay, so be very mindful about this. You'll get a lot of online articles, even YouTube tutorials on how to prepare for introduction. Okay, so try to follow certain guidelines. Keep it very concise in the sense less words but more information, more relevant information, more relevant information in the sense just tell them in what way you can help them, in what way, what value would you add to their organization. Talk about that. Don't talk about I'm from this native place. Don't say about I've headed the cultural committee in my college fest or something like that. I mean, that's not what people are expecting in an introduction. Be very specific, okay, and talk about what do you aspire to be, okay. And once you're done, just stop. The other person is not stopping you, or the other person is not coming up with the next question doesn't mean that you are not yet done. Once your introduction is completed, a brief introduction is completed, just stop right there. Okay? Don't give any irrelevant things. No one cares about it. Mostly like people, I do interview people with, seniors as well. I've seen people mentioning their native place. I really don't know why. Very easy to understand, very easy to follow. I'll share this PPT. Okay. These were anyways bonus points. Okay. I have to wrap up, sorry. Can we take a couple of questions more? Any questions, guys? Any questions? Okay. Thank you very much, my dear friends. Thank you. Thanks a lot for being with me. You have taken a pretty good amount of time. I think it's around 2 hours. But I believe I have been able to put a lot of value, clear a lot of your concepts, your understanding on the IT world. Uh, I hope I have been able to strike out few of your fears, um, few of the thoughts that you might have, haunting thoughts that how things are going to happen, what do I do? I believe somewhere you will be able to track out a path for yourself and work on your skills, right? That's all about. That's all from me. Thank you very much. All the very best.
Thank you very much, sir. Priyanka, are you there?
Yes, ma'am, I'm here.
Yeah, continue.
Yeah, thank you, Vikram sir, for such a lively session and such a important concepts. Whatever you have told is very valuable for every one of us. Thank you, sir. Now, I request our principal, Professor G.S. Dhage sir, to grace us with his thoughts and experience.
A very good afternoon to all students and the Vikram sir here. Very most informative sessions you have conducted now, and these now I am audible to all.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay. Sir, Vikram sir, you are always welcome to the platform of High Tech Institute of Technology, and it is our pride as you are the successful alumni for us from our college. And sir, in future we need some leads or opportunities for our students from you. And as suggested by Vikram sir to us that all students must go through the details given by Vikram sir and also prepare their LinkedIn profiles. Definitely, whatever the strategies given to us by Vikram sir, that we will implement in our college which are very beneficial for the that is our placement point of view for the students, fresher students. And these computer science and engineering, we know very well that is nowadays is growing and increasing the number of opportunities, like in the area of artificial intelligence, that is in robotics, data science. Also mentioned by Vikram sir that it is in industry 4 IoT. So due to these advancement in these areas, nowadays the placement opportunities and the that is job opportunities nowadays that is increasing for the computer science and engineering students. So that is the good efforts taken by the head of departments of computer science and engineering, and the teams also, the faculty teams of computer science and engineering departments, organizing such a wonderful webinar. And I also thankful to the Vikram sir on the behalf of High Tech Institute of Technology to be here for guiding our students. And thank you, sir.
It's
Okay.
absolutely my pleasure, sir. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Okay,
Thanks for having me.
okay, sir.
Okay.
Okay.
Thanks, sir.
HOD ma'am, any
Uh,
Smita ma'am?
good
Yeah,
af-
yes.
yes,
Continue,
Uh,
Priyanka. Continue.
yes. Good afternoon, everyone. Here we come to the end of this today's progressive session. I, Priyanka Satralkar, on behalf of High Tech Institute of Technology, Varuns Aurangabad, thanks to the speaker, Principal Sir, HOD Ma'am, all the participants, our teaching staff, and everyone related to this session. I am thankful to Mr. Vikram Sherigar Sir. He has made a super interactive session with the students where everyone participated actively. Thank you so much for your presence, sir. I extend my grateful thanks to all the Institute authorities for allowing us to conduct this webinar. I extend my thanks to our Honorable Principal Sir, Professor G.S. Dhage Sir, for his valuable support and motivation. Also thankful to our teaching staff, Honorable HOD Ma'am, for their precious support. I am very glad and thankful to all the participants for this valuable presence and support, which is highly appreciated. Thank you all and hoping for the same response from you for future webinars. This pandemic has made us all to learn to be technical and digital. Stay home and be safe. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot, everyone. Thank you, sir. Uh, we can wind up the session now. You all can leave.